What happens when a company's past decisions come back to haunt its future? For Boeing, 2024 has been a year of turbulence, and the root cause of its struggles traces back decades to a defining moment of its merger with McDonnell Douglas.
In the previous 3 videos in this series, we have covered the growth of Boeing, the merger that led to misery, and their descent into despair. In this last video of the series, we explore how Boeing miserably failed to read the writing on the wall and still continued down the same path, which might just bring the once aerospace giant crashing down.
Before the merger, Boeing was an engineering-driven powerhouse, and safety and innovation were at the heart of everything Boeing did. But after merging with McDonnell Douglas in 1997, the priorities changed. R&D budgets were slashed, and decisions that had once been led by engineers were now driven only by focus on quarterly profits. McDonnell Douglas's corporate philosophy prioritized shareholder value over innovation, and this cultural shift set the stage for the crises that Boeing would face in the years to come. And its egregious effects came into sharp public focus, starting with the B737 MAX disasters. In October 2018, Lion Air Flight 610 crashed into the Java Sea, killing all 189 people on board. Less than 5 months later, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 suffered a similar fate, claiming 157 lives. Both crashes were linked to the MCAS system. While Airbus quickly gained ground, especially with its A320neo, a fuel-efficient, technologically advanced plane, Boeing was left scrambling for a competitive response. The pressure to catch up led to a rushed redesign of the aging 737 platform, and the seeds of disaster were sown.
In case you missed the previous videos where we explored these, you will find a link the first thing in the description below. Fast forward to 2024, and Boeing's struggles are far from over. The aftermath of the 737 MAX crisis still looms large, but the year brought a new wave of challenges, all of them connected to the decisions and priorities shaped by the merger with McDonnell Douglas.
And it seems that the Boeing management did not learn a single lesson from the monstrous negligence that had led to the B737 MAX crashes. 5th January 2024. Shortly after takeoff, a door plug in Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 blew out, causing an uncontrolled decompression of the aircraft. It was a Boeing 737 MAX 9 plane, and it was forced to return to its originating airport for an emergency landing. Fortunately, all 171 passengers and 6 crew members survived the accident, with 3 receiving minor injuries.
Footage from CBS broadcast shows the terrifying visuals.
Missing, right there. Nearly 200 people were on board that flight, traveling from Portland to Ontario. CBS has confirmed the plane is a Boeing 737 MAX 9 and had just been delivered to the airline in October. Thankfully, no one was hurt. The FAA is investigating.
A preliminary report published by the NTSB a month later, on February 6th, said that 4 bolts, which were supposed to secure the door plug, had been missing when the accident occurred, and that Boeing records showed evidence that the plug had been reinstalled with no bolts prior to the initial delivery of the aircraft. The aircraft was just 2 months old when the accident occurred and had logged just 510 flying hours. Kong Tran, who was a passenger on that flight, described the terrifying experience as holding on for dear life.
In an interview with CNBC, Boeing CEO said that he was devastated and emotional when he heard about the accident, but his words appear to lack any conviction. We bring excerpts of that interview direct from CNBC footage.
In a CNBC exclusive interview, Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun along with our Phil LeBeau. Phil?
What was your reaction when you saw the Alaska Airlines blowout and the video Friday night?
Devastated, emotional. Immediately, you get to work. That's what you have to do. I want to.
What do you think happened?
Well, what happened is exactly what you saw. A fuselage plug blew out. That's the mistake. It can never happen. We're not allowed that to happen.
But the truth is that while the company may have taken some action on the door plug issue, Boeing's organization, cultural and structural matters on how safety and quality was handled at Boeing was far from his mind. In a revival of harsh criticism of Boeing leadership, this is what U.S. lawmakers had to say to Mr. David Calhoun.
5 years after the MAX crashes, you're once again making promises and seeming commitments. They seem highly aspirational. They are very general, to correct course. And what would you say to the whistleblowers who have come forward and faced retaliation? Boeing has a code of conduct that states, and I quote, "I will never retaliate against or punish anyone who speaks up to report a concern," end quote. And yet the whistleblowers that we have heard, including testifying before this committee, have reported a host of retaliatory behaviors, from reassignment to exclusion from.
Mr. Calhoun, what is it that you get paid currently?
Senator, that's well disclosed in our proxy documents in each of the years that I've been employed.
Yeah, but what is it?
It's a big number, sir.
Well, let me help you out. It's $32.8 million this year. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does.
That's a 45% increase over last year. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does.
What is it you get paid to do exactly?
I get paid to run the Boeing company.
Yeah. So just help me understand that. I mean, do you get paid for transparency? Is that one of the metrics for your income?
I think the board counts on me for transparency.
Really? Because you're under investigation for falsifying 787 inspection records. The Boeing's under criminal investigation for the Alaska Airlines flight. You were investigated by DOJ for criminal conspiracy to defraud the FAA. This is all in your tenure. This doesn't sound like a lot of transparency to me. What about safety? Is that a component of your salary?
It sure is, Senator.
You know, have you seen the reports that the subcontractor that you used to make that door piece that fell out of the sky, that when the FAA went and toured the facility, they found one door seal being lubricated with Dawn liquid dish soap and cleaned with a wet cheesecloth, and another was being checked with a hotel room key card? Does that sound like safety to you? You know, the FAA also says that Boeing still has not implemented the recommended steps back from 2019 and 2020 after the MAX crashes. How, if safety is a component of your $33 million compensation package, I mean, how can you possibly qualify for any of this? What about quality? Is quality part of your compensation package?
And I'm not aware of anything that has been cited with respect to those accidents that we haven't taken action on.
Really? Because we've had whistleblowers. You said you'd listen to whistleblower testimony. We've had multiple whistleblowers come before this committee and allege that Boeing is cutting every possible corner on quality and safety, not just in the past, but now. And yet you're getting paid $33 million a year. You know, I think the truth is, Mr. Calhoun, you're not focused on safety, you're not focused on quality, you're not focused on transparency. All of this is in the record, but I think actually you're focused on exactly what you were hired to do, which is that you're cutting corners, you are eliminating safety procedures, you are sticking it to your employees, you are cutting back jobs because you're trying to squeeze every piece of profit you can out of this country, this company. You're strip mining it. But meanwhile, you're getting paid a heck of a lot of money. It's unbelievable. If anybody's coming out of this deal good, it's you. Why haven't you resigned?
Yes, it was again a barrage of questions on how the Boeing leadership could pocket millions of dollars and still have planes and parts of planes falling out of the sky. And this wasn't just the opinion of US senators. In May 2023, Ryanair had ordered 300 B737 MAX 10 planes from Boeing in a deal valued at $40 billion. But in just 6 months, Ryanair CEO Michael O'Leary said Boeing needed to significantly improve its quality control systems, and in March, he announced that when the airline receives new Boeing 737 MAX aircraft, it takes 48 hours to inspect them at their facilities in Ireland before putting them into service. He said, "We're not willing to put an aircraft into service at Ryanair unless we're fully satisfied that everything's there and as it should be. It is not acceptable that aircraft get delivered at less than 100%. While no major incidents occurred, thankfully, the announcements highlighted lingering doubts about Boeing's commitment to safety, doubts rooted in the company's cost-cutting culture. Meanwhile, news surfaced from whistleblower Sam Mohawk that during Boeing's return to 737 MAX production, reports of subpar parts soared by an alarming 300%. These parts, meant to be handled with the care of a newborn kitten, allegedly found their way into aircraft instead of the bin. Boeing responded with a classic written warning, accusing Mohawk of disruptive behavior. Meanwhile, Boeing's financial woes continued into 2024, with delayed deliveries and production slowdowns costing the company billions. Airlines frustrated by these delays began turning to Airbus, further eroding Boeing's market share. These financial pressures trace back to post-merger strategies that prioritized shareholder returns over long-term stability. And if nothing else, it's these results that make it blatantly obvious that short-term profits and cost-cutting to maximize shareholders' gains just did not work. The common thread running through Boeing's recent challenges is the cultural shift that began with the McDonnell Douglas merger. By prioritizing financial performance over engineering excellence, Boeing lost the very identity that had made it great. An example of this complete change of focus could be seen in how, between 2010 and 2018, Boeing increased its operating cash flow from $3 to $15.3 billion and sustaining its share price by negotiating advance payments from customers and delaying payments to its suppliers. This strategy is feasible if, and only if, orders are good and delivery rates are increasing, which in reality wasn't. Another thing is that from 2013 to 2019, Boeing spent over $60 billion on dividends and stock buybacks, twice as much as the development costs of the 787. Clearly, the brainchild of William Edward Boeing and the efforts of thousands of engineers and designers that had made Boeing the global pioneer in aerospace engineering had been hijacked by short-sighted people who couldn't see beyond the next quarter profit. On October 12, 2024, the company announced plans to cut 17,000 jobs to align with our financial reality. On October 28th, Boeing initiated a share sale valued at nearly $19 billion to address cash flow issues and avoid a potential downgrade to junk status. Obviously, the company is adopting desperate measures, but it still is a question of whether the company can survive. But without a structural overhaul, it is difficult to see how it can. What do you think? Can Boeing recover from its challenges, or is the damage too deep? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into the world of travel and aviation.